thing on. So by now we know that we are working on an agile workflow, a Scrum workflow, and Scrum has several key things, several key roles, several key artifacts, several key ceremonies. Amongst the ceremonies, just to have a quick refreshment, we have our sprint planning, which we did in the beginning. We had a backlog grooming meetings, and we had our daily scrums. We went over our reports. We had our SOS Scrum of Scrum meetings, which I did by every week. And by now, at the end of the cycle, we have two more ceremonies. One is a sprint review, one is a sprint retro. So a sprint review, we didn't really get a chance to do that, but a sprint review is pretty much when the end of the sprint, you demo the product to the client, to the stakeholder, and they give a thumbs up or they give it a thumbs down. They say, okay, this release is good. They close it, and if it's not good, then they have to explain why they're not accepting it. And then there's a sprint retro, the retrospective, short for retro. And what is a sprint retro? Can anybody tell me? Does anybody remember what a sprint retro is? Shahat, you remember what a sprint retro is? Shahat, anybody? Abdul Samad?
So it's a meeting that takes place without the stakeholder, where the team goes over what could have, kind of just reviews the sprint and what could have went better and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty much a team meeting. The Scrum team gets involved in this, not the stakeholder. And this is more of the Scrum team, the Scrum Master, the QA, the developers, and we go over the sprint, and we go over what we go over what to improve, what went well, and any action items. So I sent a link in the chat, the Zoom chat. If you guys click the link, it will open up a retro board. I will share my screen as well. So this is what a retro board looks like. This is one platform. There are other platforms where you can use it. So everybody should have access to this. I'll just give a few seconds for everybody to have access. If you don't have access, please let me know. All right, so what we have here is, as you can see on the top, it says went well, to improve, and action items, right? So what that is simple, is you're going to, we're going to go over one section at a time. So we're going to go over, everyone will have a moment to put in their comments. You can choose to put in your comments and be anonymous, such as I am over here, anonymous, or you can mention yourself. The anonymous option is there because sometimes, there'll be negative things to mention and you don't want to be pointed out as being a negative one. So you can mention a negative. And so, let's say, does everyone have access to this?
Yes.
Okay, so if everyone have access, we can start our retro meeting right now. So this is a live retro meeting. We're going to go over the entire project, IT Solutions Inc. And we're going to go over this together. So everybody could right now put in the comments, went well. We're going to start off with went well. What do you think went well about this sprint? And you can leave more than one comment, and we're going to go over each comment one by one afterwards. So take a few seconds right now, guys, and leave your comments.
Yeah, let's take 5 minutes. Right now is 9:40. So 9:40 to 9:45 individually, let's start adding comments. You see the plus sign right there. Let's add what went well, and then from there we'll review that, and then we'll select what are the things to improve, and then action items. So let's.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I missed it. I don't know where's the link. I can't find it anywhere.
Check the Zoom link. I'm gonna post it in the Teams as well. I'll post it in the Teams as well.
Brother, I can't find the link either.
I'm posting in the Teams right now.
Mamun, what's the issue? Why are members not able to find the link? What is the issue?
But
Can you
yeah,
get to the bottom of that? Why? Is it not in the chat? I see it in the chat.
some members are joining late, so they didn't get the message of it being in the meeting chat.
Okay, got it.
All right, so it's in the meeting chat and it's also in the Teams chat. Feel free to join and everyone leave a comment and it went well, only in this section for now. Okay, I see a few comments coming in. Okay, so just a quick comment, just a quick statement I want to make is try to be clear in your comments. So somebody wrote daily Scrum meetings. Try to be clear in your comments so that way we understand exactly what you're trying to say. For those who joined late, we're going to take about 5 minutes to put in comments and went well. So we're having our retrospective meeting right now. So there are 20 members here. I should see at least 20 comments. Everyone should participate. All right, and you can put more than one comment. All right. All right. It's been about 5 minutes. So let's go over these comments. So this is what went well for our current sprint. So it says the first one says the duration, the number of tasks handed out in each sprint was good. So, and as you can see, you have the comment section light. You have likes as well. So if you agree on this, you can also, these are some tools that are there. So is this comment clear for everybody? The duration and number of tasks handed out in each sprint, meaning story point and task was a good amount. The daily Scrum meetings, the meetings were thorough and to the point. Okay, that's a good feedback. Task being handed out proper in the sprint, handled proper in the sprint. Tasks being handled proper in the sprint. Use of Jira was done pretty well, right? Okay, reaching out to proper individual for any questions that needs to be cleared off. Being clear on assignment or who's assigned which task in Jira. Team member communication was great during the sprint. So communication is another thing that's been repeated. Okay, entire project and the sprint, the team had a good time working together. Proper migration to Jira and understanding of Scrum workflow. Okay, so we want to try to be specific about this exact sprint, right? So it's good to mention everything else, but this is a sprint retro, so we're going over the current sprint. So try to leave comments regarding the specific sprint. Sprint meetings are very helpful. Group studies with agile methodology. See, this comment is unclear. So this needs to be clarified. Weekly classes, stand-up meetings were very helpful. Also, exposure to Jira software. Sprint meetings are very helpful and group studies to discuss. Sprint planning was detailed and precise. Number of story point in the backlog is manageable for the sprint. We got our, so as you guys can see, this is what a went well is, right? Went well is pretty straightforward. Everybody's giving good feedback. And what we should do is we should, we should look at these good feedbacks and we should try to make sure we keep these feedback. We apply what we learned here to the next sprint as well, and we try to improve. Now, this is the part where things, this is the part where we have to be a little bit critical and we have to think, what are some areas that we can improve in the sprint? So I want everybody to take 5 minutes to improve. You can leave a comment here and try to be specific of the sprint. What in this sprint, maybe tasks were assigned late. Maybe some members were given too much story points. Maybe you had 14 story points where you can only handle 9. So be specific on what to improve in this sprint, right? And as we can see, in the most part, our burn down chart, we were way behind in our burn down chart. So I should see a long list here of improvements, what to improve.
Yeah, so let's start this. I think you can only select 10 out of all of this as an action item. So let's start with what to improve. 5 minutes, guys. Try to be clear.
With maximum 10.
Yeah, you can list out. You can list out whatever the number, but we'll just have to select 10.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's start.
All right, let's go over some of these comments. So members were not able to complete most of their task, right? Is this something everyone agrees on? Right, this is something we can all agree on. And this is over here, this is where you got to be critical. Some of these stuff we have to see, are there valid comments, or some of them may not be valid. We can agree that this is very valid. Wait, keep it. Okay. Right. Members were not able to complete their task, and okay, we could also improve the user story because they were not in proper order. and everything ended up being confusing. So what does this mean? You can write in the comments. You can write in the comments if you want to clarify. We can also improve the user story because they were not in proper order and everything ended up being confusing. So this is something that we're going to face in the real real workplace. As Kadirba mentioned that, not every workplace would do things professional and do things clear. And this is where, we have our STLC process. We analyze requirements and there will be a lot of confusion and it's up to us to make sure it's clear. All right. This
So
says,
just one thing, Mamun, while you're reviewing this. So guys, like as a team, start liking the ones you think we should prioritize and make it as an action item. So let's say, for example, the last one you talked about, what was that? The user story was not clear or something like that.
Yeah.
Was it that?
Yeah.
Scroll up, the one you just covered.
Mhm.
Members are not able to complete most of their work. I think one of them you talked about the user story. Was it this one?
This one right here.
Okay. Scroll up a little bit. Okay. We could also improve the user story because they're not proper order and everything ended up being confusing. That's a very generic statement, the last part, but yes, there could be scenario where user stories were not clear, and that's why we have the requirement phase. That's where those should have brought up. But let's select this one as an action item to work on the user stories to make it more precise. So we can comment on this. It seems like a lot of people liked it. So the ones has most like, we will make it as an action item. So guys, let's go through them, and the ones you think it makes sense to you, just like it, and then we'll just make it as an action item.
All right. So this one says use of Jira could have been taught better. And a better, more thorough tutorial of Jira could have been done. I disagree with this. First of all, just my personal, it could have been taught better, right? Better tutorials are there. There are tutorials all over YouTube. This is where you have to do your due diligence and you have to do your research. In this course that you have 1 hour a weekly course, you're not going to learn everything. You're given the tools, and you should go out and do your research. There are members that did the research, they watch videos, and they've learned. So I do not agree with the first one. Maybe some of you guys do agree, maybe you don't, right? You guys can give a thumbs up.
Another thing, probably, Mamun, like for the folks that are using Jira for a long time, for example, for myself, maybe you, Rajabai, and a couple others, we may think it's simple, but for the newcomers, they might find it difficult. So that could be one thing, like, to me and my mind is very, very clear, what is Jira and how to use it. But for someone new using Jira might be harder. But, these are the things like, that's good, you're writing it here. Also in the class, like, you should bring this up so we could spend more time on it. But these are good feedback. Very, very good. Thank you. Let's continue.
The important method together would have been helpful. The important method was gone over a couple of times. I've gone over it a few times in group studies. Those group studies are there. Yeah. So that's just to point out. BA could have provided better and clearer story points that are free of defects. Okay.
Then developers will not have job if those are free of defects. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we don't need testers. Yeah.
Just one thing I want to repeat, like the process we have here, you will not see it even in the real project. when you work on a project, you'll see a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, a lot of people are running around without proper plan. But this is good, we need to learn properly and utilize our tools properly and the knowledge. So yeah, any opportunity to improve, I really appreciate it, every single feedback. So let's make it as an action item as well.
Scrum meetings did not take place daily and Scrum Masters weren't effective in checking in with the team. Okay, this, I agree, this can be improved for next batch. Members were not able to complete most of their tasks. We did that. More group study sessions will be helpful. This kind of goes back to having good leadership. So this, I think this is one action item. We can put it as one. User story needs to be more clear and linked to the proper epics. Many members had to go back and forth due to confusion. Okay, this was discussed already. So these like the same thing. We need to work on estimate. So what is I guess we went over story points. We had our story point estimation. Maybe is that what the person is saying? Maybe we could have done more time on that. Maybe you could leave a comment and clarify that. Communication from team leads need improving. Okay, this is also discussed. Need to learn more about SQL. SQL class just started, so I don't think this is an valid action item because we're still going over the SQL classes. Members proper training in analyzing requirement. How to analyze requirement, is that what this comment is saying? We need more training in how to analyze the requirement. Okay, this one, what is it? I didn't understand this one. Code freeze was a bit challenging. We should follow 2 days window strictly for code freeze. What's code freeze?
Yeah, so let's talk about it a little bit. This is a very good point, right? So code freeze happens at the end of the sprint, meaning developers should stop coding, making changes to the application some point. So QA can do verification, end-to-end verification, and functional verification, and every aspect of testing should be covered during that time period without having the application changes, without making any changes to the application. So ideally, in a standard world, there should be at least 1 or 2 days where developers should not touch the code, meaning they should complete their coding. Let's say you have two weeks of sprint, right? In 2 weeks, you have 10 working days. Developers only get 8 working days of code changes and making any sort of modification to the application. After the 8 days, we declare that end of the 8th day, there will be code freeze. Developers should not touch that code. So QA can do their testing and end-to-end flow and sign off on it. So that's the ideal scenario. But in the agile world, I have not seen that. It's impossible. So, but we need to understand what is code freeze and what is the expectation and the standard in the industry. So this is just for the understanding purpose. If you get code freeze, 2 days before your sprint ends, you'll be very, very lucky. Again, in the agile world is very, very hard, but it would be very, very ideal things to do. So at least the major changes should not happen during those 2 days. That could make some minor changes. You guys have any questions on the code freeze and the process of it?
No, it's
Cool.
pretty
Cool, Mahmoud. Let's move on.
okay. So a lot of these comments are same comments. We see a couple of comments for SQL. More they want more group sessions for SQL.
Okay.
Everybody's involvement in workflow and proper training. Okay, team needs to be more active. Okay, we did that. today. Too many defects were deferred for the sprint. Yeah, too many defects were deferred because we don't have real developers in our so we can't.
Yeah. So this is fine, actually. Deferring bugs is not up to QA or dev, it's business decisions. That is fine. And here, the sprints we are doing for you to learn the actual activities. Ignore the facts, how many defects are there. Ignore the facts, how many were deferred and how many were are still open and things like that. Ignore those, because if we try to fix all of those and close all of that, this is an application. To build an application takes a year, 6 months. We don't have time like that, right? We will fix those defects, but in the background. But right now, for the sake of time, we have to move forward, right? And the idea for you to learn each phase is what we do. So you have learned that is fine. You log the defect, some of the defects we close, some of the defect we deferred, that is fine. Let's move on now.
Okay. So that's pretty much our improvements. So now we're gonna take these and make action items out of these, right? So,
Yeah, I think you're able to drag some of them to the action item section, the ones that is, yeah. There you go. And if you want, you can add proper comment as well, but it's not mandatory.
So guys, go through these improvements and hit the like button. That way we know which one has more priority. I see. I think.
You can select first three. Yeah.
Yeah, I selected these two.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much seeing SQL, leadership, and user start clarification.
I think this is fine. The ones you selected, you can select maximum 10, I believe, but I think the ones you have selected, that should be good enough for the sprint to take as an action item.
So how long is this retro meeting? We know stand up has like a standard of 15 minutes. Retro doesn't have like a standard of time. There's no standard. It's just
We do half an hour, but it depends on your size, team size, but it should be standard 30 minutes.
okay. All right. Yeah. So we pretty much complete everything within half an hour. That is what sprint retrospective is, guys. You just going over the sprint and we take these action items.
Any questions about sprint retro? Are there things that are unclear to you? Sorry guys, I have a cold, so I kind of have a heavy voice, so apologies for that. Mamun is here to answer. Rajabhai is here as well. But any questions? Anything that's not clear to you?
The action items, like what exactly happens with them? They're focused on the next sprint, is that?
Yeah, so the idea of those action items, this is a really good question. I was hoping someone would ask, what do you do with the action items? So the idea of this action item for you to compare it with the next action item, meaning, so we're done with the sprint, right? And now you're going to go ahead and start next sprint. Now you go through the next sprint and you have this action item on your sprint retro board, and we as a team make sure to work on those action items during the next sprint. And in the next retro, we compare those action items to make sure that have we achieved those action items from the last sprint. If we have it, we'll mark it as achieved. If it's not achieved, then we'll continue to work on it until we achieve it. So that is the process. And the other thing is sprint retro, we are using Easy Retro tool. but you could use any tools. You could even use Excel. You could use Jira. Jira comes with Sprint Retro as well. So
I
we
think
could use that as well if requires. So it depends really on your company and your preference. What do you want to use? Which tool you want to use? I use Retro because Easy Retro because I used it before. We recently started using Jira. So yeah. Yeah, someone had a question.
And another question about the retro. Like, obviously, this is my first time ever doing this, but is it common? Like, do people call people out saying, like, specifically, so and so could have done this better, etc.? Is that common? Is that allowed?
Not direct comments.
Okay.
You can't say, Mamoon, you suck. You can't say that. This is professional environment. You have to handle it professionally. So you could say like, dev team could have done better communication with QA in such and such situation. You could do that. You could say business could have clarified things differently or more efficiently, things like that. You could say that, but not name people. I mean, you could, but should not.
you're just gonna cause conflict and hurt feelings.
Yeah. What else, guys?
That pretty much concludes.
Okay, so assuming everybody has clear understanding of Sprint Retro, if so, let's move on to the statuses. We started with the retro first, so the way that we ensure that we get through the retro. I'm repeating this again, guys. So I think next week we should start with the new batch, hopefully. For you guys, let's continue SQL classes on Monday and other things on Monday. If we can keep tomorrow next week's date for the new batch, what I will do, I'll create a Jira board, and in that Jira board, I'll have a different topic created for that batch. So let's say, we have topic like intro to the software. We have topics like, SDLC, Agile, Scrum, all kind of things, right? So I'll create a Jira board, and that board will have either task or stories. Not sure, I haven't thought about it yet, but we'll create tickets, right? And assign it to different individual from this group. For example, day one will go over intro to the software, and that ticket will be assigned to, let's say, one of you to cover for that day. And obviously I will be there supporting you, but I want you guys to take the lead. I want to change the approach and not, so we're having a new batch, but that doesn't mean you stop learning. That doesn't mean you stop participating. So we have to balance it and we have to improve it. And this is to improve your skills and knowledge. So the reason we're doing it, I want, as you guys saw, right, we had I think more than 100 registered students for this batch, but we ended up with 20, which is perfectly fine. It's not quantity is always the quality that I talk about it. Now 20 of you, maybe 20 plus people are here. Now this is on me to ensure that you go to the next phase. And how do we do that, right? You're kind of stuck in one area where you're just listening to the class and learning, hopefully, but I really don't know how much you're learning. What are you learning? You're not really talking in the class now. I had to think about like how to change that, and this is the best approach I was able to come up with. So rapidly, ideally I would have at least waited another month or two to start the next batch. But when I started thinking about it like this, I thought, okay, this would be a very good opportunity for you guys to improve on your skills as well as learn and teach. So this is going to be great. It's just you guys need to step up. That's all. There is no hesitancy. There is no shyness. If you want to go get a job, you got to do the next steps. So let's do that. Let's see how it goes. Any comments, feedback, or anything, I welcome to discuss offline or here. That's perfectly fine. Mohan, do you have anything else you want to cover from this retro board?
No, no.
Cool. So then let's go to the statuses, guys. Okay, let's stop sharing. Someone from a group. Let's talk about overall status of your sprint, the amount of test cases executed, the bugs, number of bugs, bugs in different statuses, things like that. I remember asking you guys about a test status template. Some of you submitted status template, some of you didn't understand and submitted something very generic, which is fine. You took steps. The steps may or may not be the right one, but you did it, which is good. And the thing is, like, we when I say test status report, what are we talking about? When we say test status, meaning the entirety of your testing, you start with your test cases, the number of test cases you have, then test cases in different statuses. For example, test execution versus to do. So let's say if you have 100 test cases and you've executed 80 of them and 20 of them yet to be done. So 80-20, right? 80 executed, 20 to be done. And then out of those 80, how many pass, how many fail? These kind of numbers should goes into your test status report. But then talk about defects. What is the total count of defects? How many defects are blockers, high, medium, low, things like that. Overall status of the project, overall status of the testing, things like that should goes into that report, like pie chart type of thing. So this kind of things I was hoping and expecting from you guys. Some of you have submitted, some of you didn't, and this was very, very important because one of the QA manager reached out to me and say, hey, can you help me out with the test status report? I may have an opportunity to hire somebody, but right now I need a test status report to present. And this was for a real project. So I have a couple of them. I'll forward a couple of them. I don't know if it will be accepted or not. And there is a very good chance like he will come back and say, hey, I need that guy. So that's why I forwarded this to you. Some of you have taken action, some of you didn't. But let's see. Just wanted to kind of convey this message. Now, going back to the status of today, the sprint, we don't have much, right? We have pretty much covered everything. And like Mamoon mentioned about sprint review meeting, and he explained, right, what happens in sprint review. We demo our work to the client. But I didn't think that we need it. All we need to do is just show them like this functionality was implemented and tested, and usually it's done by the developers. Very rarely QA will go in and demo the work. There are projects that they ask QA to demo work, but usually it's done by the developers. So I avoided it. It's very simple. You just go into the application, say, hey, login functionality was implemented. Let's say login functionality was implemented last sprint. You just go in and show how that works. You enter, you navigate to the login functionality, you enter username, password, and then you show you logged in. That's what type of thing happens. Let's say you have 3 features you've built. Let's say register functionality, login functionality, and something else on the homepage. Just giving random examples. So these are the 3 or 4 or 5 functionality you'll be demoing to the client, saying, "Hey, we built this functionality." So that's kind of sprint review, and they usually gives you a thumbs up. And if there are comments, of course, that gets considered. So that's your sprint review. So let's go with the statuses. Who wants to start?
I can start.
All right, well, go ahead. So we have 15 minutes. We have to cover 4 tips in 15 minutes. Let's consider that.
So do I just say it or?
If you can share your screen, that would be great as well.
So this is the status report that I prepared. So we have pretty much outlined the quality status, roadmap, testing summary, test and defect summary. I start off with quality status, just giving a update on the status of this release, if it's good for the release or not. Or so I said we do recommend this version for the release. And then just an overview of the roadmap. What is our goal? What is the platform you're using? What are some tests? What's in our test scope, and what's not in our test scope? And when is our deadline to sign off? This number is inaccurate. I just put a random number just to reflect the real project. And I've created this Gantt chart. I use Confluence. Confluence, they had an app where you can use a roadmap. So I just made a Gantt chart. Again, these numbers aren't really accurate. I just created something just for a template. This I got this Team Mango's project ended, so I have limited access to it, but I was able to go through the filters and filter out some of the test cases. So we had about 516 test cases and 300 in progress, 183 passed, 23 closed, and I put a percentage over there where 35% is passed, and as it is reflecting overall in the pie chart as well. So smoke sanity end to end, we've mostly focused on smoke sanity. So that's just overall summary of our test execution. Then this is a little bit more breakdown in terms of the modules. We have module 1 of our 5 different modules, and some of the statuses as well, priorities. How much of each module has been tested. So from all 4 modules, these modules over here, they are completed. They've been tested, executed. We have 4 that are currently pending as well. And this is just a defect summary. We have 5. I just mentioned the names of these summaries. We have 5 defects that are closed, and 5 that are open. And the title is just mentioned there. And I've broken down over here. As mentioned, 5 and 5, 50%. And this is a breakdown where we have 30% that's in QA, ready for QA, and deferred and fixed. And that's pretty much my test report.
Thanks, Mamoon. So your test report pretty much covering your current status. It's reflecting your current status. So thank you very much for that. Let's move to the next team. You don't have to show if you don't have a report, you don't have to show that report. But let's just go over your status, your sprint status. Any volunteers? Is Redwan on today?
No.
Okay. Ishtiaq. Ishtiaq, are you?
Hello. Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could go. I didn't create the document like Mamoon, but I mean I could share our board. Pretty much we're complete with our sprint. We have a few, nitty and gritties here and there, but we've done most of the backend work and, but let me share real quick,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. So from last week, pretty much what we did is the extra user stories that were added last week or the week before, that pretty much we just needed to execute the test cases that were made for that. Most of them I was responsible for, so I just executed them. We still have the bugs from before that were made. These are pretty much all the bugs that we found. And the only problem still currently is that like a few of the members, they're not able to write test cases at all because they're saying they have like personal issues.
Okay.
But other than that, I you know, the people that couldn't do the test cases, I just took up their work for them. I just did it for them. So yeah.
Okay. But we can't have this going on forever, right? We had
Yeah.
4 weeks of practice, I believe, and that
Yeah.
is probably the max we have done and we could do. And
Yeah.
those who utilize this board, it's great for them. Those who didn't, I'm sorry for them. We cannot wait. We have a deadline and we must meet our deadline.
Yeah.
So that's good, Ishtiaq. Any blockers still open in your board?
Blockers, no, I wouldn't say any blockers other than some of the test cases we can't even execute because certain user stories were assigned to, certain people that didn't even put test cases up. But yeah, that's the only blocker I would say.
Let me ask you something, guys. Did you guys execute in Jira X-Ray? Did you guys use Jira X-Ray?
We learned how to do it, but most of us we converted it from Excel because it lets you do multiple at one time instead of just writing it one by one on X-Ray. So yeah, we did. We took it from Excel and then just converted it into X-Ray.
We had group sessions. I held the group studies, I think once, and I also, I think Sadiq as well. He created a document. He shared how to import test case in Excel.
Okay, I just want to reiterate that Jira X-Ray is really popular now in the industry. It's a new tool. It's a new plugin for Jira.
Yeah.
And a lot of time in the interview, they're asking about uses of X-Ray. So let's guys spend some time. When you have time, go into testing mode, execute your test cases, and get some practice done. That would be really, really great. That will teach you something. Okay. Yes, brother Muhammad Haq.
Assalamu alaikum. I have just a question about the Jira, and so far I understood, though I'm just not in the present group, but I was trying to do something myself. But I feel that this is just like a project management tool, right?
It is.
Yeah, so can we use the Jira more specifically for the bug life cycle, that is the test management tool, or I have to take the plugin for it?
Can we use Jira for the bug management? We are doing it. So bug has their own life cycle, and the project stories have their own life cycle. So we are using it, like you mentioned, project management tool. And within that project, the bug falls into the project. So we are using it for the project management as an entirety and also as a bug lifecycle. So to answer your question, both of them are yes. Can we use it? Yes. Are we using it? Yes.
Then why we need X-ray tool and the Zypher, right? They use for this test management tool.
So we're not using Zephyr, and X-ray is for test execution. So bug has their life cycle, meanings once, just like you and I We are born, then we grow up, and then we do our things, and then we die. So similarly, bug gets raised, then it gets assigned, then it gets worked on, and then it gets closed. So this is for the bug life cycle. But for test execution, you need X-ray. That feature was not there before. It's something that Jira they recently added. So it allows you to execute your test in real time. Back in the days, we would need another tool to do the execution, for example, ALM or Quality Center. So what we would do before, log the bug in Jira, but we do our test execution in ALM. So that those days are over, thank goodness. We don't need to execute somewhere else. We have bugs we're logging in Jira. We're also doing our test execution in Jira X-ray, and you can link them, right? When you're doing an execution in X-ray, if something is failing, you could fail it. You could fail the exact steps, and you can link your bug right there, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. So Zypher and the X-ray does the same thing, or is the two?
Ignore Zephyr. We are not teaching Zephyr. What we are learning here is good enough, is sufficient. We are not using Zephyr. We're using Jira Test Management Tool with X-ray plugin. And those two covers everything you need in terms of testing and project management. We're not using Zephyr. Guys, did we use Zephyr? Do we have any questions about Zephyr? I don't think we use Zephyr as per my knowledge. So Zephyr is out of the question for us.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much. Yeah, it's clear now for me. Actually, I was a little confused about two tools there.
Great.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
that's the plan, right? Not to confuse you. And we have in the industry, we have tons of tools. We cannot use everything. We should not use everything. We need to select what is the most popular and appropriate. And Jira and X-ray is the most popular right now. With that being said, when you go for your job interviews, and if they ask you, can you work with Zephyr? Your answer should be yes, I can. All of these tools are very, very similar. If you know one, you can work with any one of them. It's just like driving Honda and Toyota. If you can drive one, if you have driver license, you could drive all of them. So that's that. All right.
Thank you so much for explaining.
You're welcome, brother. All right. Any other questions? All right. Ashfaq, do you still have access to the X-ray Jira board?
Yes, fine.
Okay. Can we execute one test case in the X-ray, if you don't mind? If you go to your testing board, select one of the story that has test cases against it. Can you go to the active board? One tab. Yeah, that's fine too. So, okay, so can you select one of the story? Let's say ITS 26. Does this have either one, whatever has a test case against it? Let's just see if any of the story has test cases written. and linked. Okay, these are all test cases, right? Nice. So
Yes.
let's can you scroll up and click on test coverage? Yeah, click on that. Now execute. You see where it says execute on top with test execution. Okay, so this is going to create you a test suite, I think. Assign, that's fine. Test environment. You can select an environment, QA, and create. Click on create. So this is because you have multiple test cases against it. So it's creating an test execution suite. Okay. 41. Okay. Can you scroll down? Sure, can you scroll down, please? Is there any run button here? Okay, so
Yes, Bhaiya.
you have I was hoping for a simpler one. This one has 41. It will take us like maybe an hour to execute. But if you click on ITS 7, let's see what happens. ITS 77. Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
sorry.
let's select something simpler. Maybe it has one test cases.
All of them are going to have a lot of test cases because all of the members wrote test cases.
Oh,
That's
okay.
maybe one of these.
Yes, try clicking on one of this. So this one has
Seven.
okay. Let's execute this one. So just click on one of them. Okay, need for peer review this one. It will, yeah. Okay, so test runs, click on test run. Guys, don't think I know all of this. I don't execute test cases. Tamid is expert. I'm just trying to figure out together. So execute in. If you see the plate, yeah. Can you select this option? See what happens. Don't play it. Don't play it.
I'll go
I
back.
wanted to see. Oh, when you do execute in, what option does it gives you? I wanted to see that.
Okay, but I'm going back.
Okay, so
What's up with your Wi-Fi?
it's taking a long time because Ashwak, you have like a lot of test cases on your board.
I also have an issue with my Wi-Fi, but
Oh,
I've been
okay,
having this week.
okay. So select that option. Execute in. Is it environment type of thing? New test, existing, test execution. I don't even think you need to select. Okay, select new execution. See what happens. Oh no, cancel out. You already have it done. So let's just click on the play button. That's your execution. Click on the play button. No, this is where you're going to write your actual results and provide test evidence. This is what you guys should have practiced. I hope some of you practice.
Yeah, we went over this with the members.
Cool. So now where do you write your actual results? So this is your steps, actual results here. You simply write your actual results here. Just say working as expected. This is just testing purpose. We are doing it. So just write working as expected. Okay. So this one is working as expected. We can save it and done. But you see right here, you have defects. If this was failing, you could have log a defect right here. You see test evidence right here. It says plus sign. So this is where, regardless of passes or fails, you should provide your screenshot here. Ashfaq, if you click on evidence plus sign. So this is what my team is doing every day. Like before they close or a test case, they are providing evidence regardless of its passing or failing, because if you just say pass and not provide evidence, tomorrow if it breaks, they might say, hey, you didn't test it properly. But let's say you're verifying here, logging page functionality or anything. I don't have an example right now, but whatever it is, you know, you have verified steps. Verify this exists, right? Whether if it's logo or something else. If you have a screenshot of it here, no one can argue with you. So try to do this best practice. You can provide that in your evidence. Now, if you click on defects, Ashfaq, click on defect icon, plus sign. Okay, so right here, you could create a defect, you could add a defect. Add is nothing but linking a defect. So as you can see, Jira X-Ray, you could do so much with it. I hope you took advantage of it. We are nearly at the end of the class, and I hope you learned something. Any questions?
Yeah, just one thing to mention. Also, you have to hit those colors at the bottom right.
Yeah, this is pass and fail and pause. I think yellow is, what is yellow? Pause. Executing. Yeah, so yellow is probably executing. So if it's passing, you just click the green, right?
Yes, but
Okay, great. So this is good. While the board is accessible to you, practice it. Don't worry about right now. We're done with the project, but you shouldn't stop practicing. Keep on practicing. Create stories. Create bug. Execute it. Add evidence. No one is going to review it now because we're going to move on. Just use this tool that you have right now to do whatever you need to do to learn and be comfortable. You can mess up, that's fine. We don't worry about it right now. So yeah, thank you guys. And next week we'll start the new session. All of you must join. And job market is picking up, so start preparing yourself for that. Continue to learn SQL and other thing on Monday. But Sunday we will start with the new approach, with the new group, with you guys, basically. Questions, concerns?
Yes, yes, ma'am. I have a question. So I think we don't have the access to the Jira anymore when I checked last time. So are you going to get for the Jira? Yes, our current project.
For Team Mango?
No, Team Wolfpack.
Yeah, everyone is going to lose access. Usually, yeah, usually you get 4 weeks of access. This thing.
So how are we going to practice it? If you don't have access.
If you have access, you practice. If you don't have access, you'll get access again once you go back to the project.
Oh, okay.
That's why everybody had 4 or 5 weeks. I reiterated, I push everybody, encourage everybody. If you didn't take advantage of it, this is the maximum length that you guys got. Usually we do project in 2 weeks or 3, but this time around we spent a lot of time. So hopefully you guys spent some time. If not, we'll have to wait for the next time we are in the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Also, creating a new project isn't that hard, and everybody can go in and create a project in 2 hours and practice themselves.
Yeah, everything is available, guys. You just need to know, research. Just whatever we taught you, research about it. Something is not clear, research. Researching is something like that you have to do daily when you're at work. And that's a skills that one must have, how to do research in certain things. When you go to work, chances are you may or may not know a lot of things, but that doesn't mean you should stop. When you don't know something, or when you're confused about something, this is when you need to research, and that skills everyone must have. All right, so let's meet tomorrow, and then we'll meet Sunday, and we'll kick off a project Sunday. That project, the new batch. Any questions, guys?